The Canadian Agr Marketing Association, or CAMA as it's also known, may not be a familiar name to many of you. If you're involved with marketing products or services to the ag industry, then CAMA is an organization that can help. We caught up with Deb Wilson of Farm Business Communication, who is a longtime member from the Calgary chapter, and she talked with us about CAMA and its upcoming conference. I'm here today with Deb Wilson from the Canadian Agr Marketing Association. But before we get into agricultural marketing, let's clarify a couple terms here. Today we're not talking about the marketing of agricultural commodities, which we're used to hearing. Rather, we're talking about marketing agricultural products and services, and this is really the goal of the CAMA organization. Now today, Deb's going to tell us a little bit about the background and how she got involved with the organization. Hi,
Thanks,
Deb.
Rob. Hi. Yeah, it's kind of an exciting time in the agri-marketing industry right now. Agriculture and the marketing that goes with it is kind of really picking up steam right now. It's exciting times in agriculture, and I'm happy to be part of it. I have been on the national board for 4 years, and the Canadian Agr Marketing Association developed as an offshoot of the National Agri Marketing Association in the United States, it's a huge organization with state chapters. So in Canada, we originally started out with a chapter in Ontario. We then developed some chapters in Quebec, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. There was one in Alberta, and it kind of died off a few years back and was resurrected about 4 years ago. 5 years ago. I've been on the provincial board for the last 4 years and on the national board for the last 4 years. For me, it's been a super opportunity to network with my peers. I am in the publishing industry and in the national sales rep for Farm Business Communications. So working with a lot of the people on the board and in the CAMA organization, when we have a national get-together or a provincial get-together, I'm networking with my clients, my peers, ad agencies I might work with, a lot of our crop input companies. So it's, and it's, as you can guess, we're a very lively, engaged group of people. A lot of us are salespeople, we're planners, we're excited about the industry. So it's been a great organization for me to be part of.
Good. You've mentioned networking here. Mm-hmm. So tell us what type of organizations would typically be involved, and who really wants to get involved with this organization?
Well, right now, just before I left my office this morning, I took a look at some of the people that are part of the organization. So we would have ad agencies, we would have companies like Dow AgriScience, we would have, when I talked about ad agencies, I'm looking at True Media, Woodruff Schweitzer, Ad Farm. I'm also looking at the Ag for Life Foundation. I saw you at one of our last educational events. Alberta Farm Animal Council was there. The list is endless. Anybody that has a message or a product to market in the ag industry will find a fit with the Agri Marketing Association, and they'll find like-minded individuals. And if you're a small to medium-sized ag business and you can't afford an agency, here's an excellent opportunity to network with those type of people and to come to educational seminars to find out about online marketing, to find out about social media, to find out about motivation, to find out about corporate structure. We do all of those topics at our educational events. Okay, you've got some conferences coming up over the next few months, and you also have a chapter structure. Is there a chapter in each Canadian city or just the ones in the prairies? We work provincially, so there's one in Quebec, one in Ontario, one in Manitoba, one in Saskatchewan, and one in Alberta. Okay. And then we have our national body with a I don't know what official title we gave her, but she manages all the business of the national body. We also run webinars through that national body. So even if you can't get, because as we all appreciate, agriculture in Canada is widespread, but it's widespread in the US as well. So we've really implemented the use of webinars. So you can pick and choose. Once you become a member, you have a lot of advantages that come to you. You receive the Agri Marketing magazine, which is published in the US but has a Canadian section. And really, when you look at agriculture as a whole right now, agriculture is not a national industry.
No.
We now deal on a global market, and for us, marketing is a continental issue.
Very true.
Here.
Very
and a
true.
lot of our companies that are advertising in Canada, the advertising is planned and the media comes out of the US, but they need our input from Canada to tell them how to talk to our Canadian farmers.
Excellent. Now you've got you've mentioned the NAMA organization, which is the U.S. version of it, and there are some conferences coming up not only in Canada but the U.S. that members are interested in, and maybe people that are interested in joining would be interested in as well.
We'll start with the very next one that's coming up on April 3rd is the annual general meeting for the Canadian Agr Marketing Association, the Alberta chapter, which is being hosted by Dow AgriSciences in Calgary. That will be a luncheon event. It'll start at 11:30 again on November 3rd. You can access information on that by going to Alberta CAMA on Facebook. We also have CAMA.org, and each provincial chapter has a microsite off of that. We'd love to have whoever would like to come out to our AGM. We're also going to have a speaker that is going to talk to us about social media in our businesses. And at that time, right now we have a nominating committee out looking for new candidates for the board. So that's April 3rd. Then we go April, I believe, 17th, 18th, 19th is NAMA, National Agri Marketing Association in Kansas City. The CAMA group is hosting, my company actually has taken on we were lucky enough to be able to host Camaraderie Night in Kansas City. So it's where all us Canadians get together and chit-chat and find out what we've learned, who we've networked with, get to talk to one another from all across the country. There'll be people there from Quebec right through to Alberta. We'll probably talk something about our student chapters that are competing down there in the student competition. We have very active student chapters in Ontario at Guelph, and then again in Saskatchewan and Saskatoon at the university there. And then our next, of course, each chapter will have their educational events and webinars coming out through the year. But our next big event will be Quebec City, November 21st. So that's something that we're all really looking forward to.
So if you're an agribusiness, it makes sense to join CAMA because you're going to get a lot of networking opportunities. And there's some great education that comes along with it, not just in the form of webinars, but guest speakers, pretty much on a monthly basis, isn't that right?
We try to have something at least every other month. And then the webinars would fill in between.
Good. Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.
We had Bruce Rowe in studio, who's the MLA for Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills recently, and he talked to us about the future of farming in his constituency. Bruce, you're an MLA for a rural constituency, Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills, and you represent a lot of farmers and producers here.
Yes,
give us your take on the future of agriculture, especially for the province and as a nation even.
Well, I think there's a bright future for agriculture. It's been around a long time. It's been here long before oil and gas was here. It'll be here long after oil and gas is gone. What form that takes at that time, it's hard to say, but it will be here in some form or another. And I think it's our responsibility as a government to make sure that transition and the changes that come about as efficiently and as gently as they can with the farmers and the landowners' concerns in mind.
So you mentioned a little bit about the landowners, and I think there's a question about some land rights here. What's the Wild Rose Party doing about that, or how do they?
Well, our platform during the election was very simple: that we would repeal Bills 50, Bills 36, 24, and 19, all bills that deal, we feel, severely with landowners' rights and interfere with their rights. So those would be repealed. And there are some good things within those bills, but we will hive those out and make sure that our water and our land is protected without taking away the rights of farmers and the right to farm, period.
Excellent, excellent. So when you look at the future of farming for the youth in this province, how does that play into the Wild Rose policy?
Well, there has to be ways to ensure that succession of the farming families carries on. And I think it behooves the government to put in place mechanisms that will allow that transition to take place. If mom and dad want to retire, there's got to be a mechanism where they can get their investment out and retire comfortably, and allow the children to assume their role as successors. And there's a number of ways that can happen, and I think government can create the climate for that to happen without a huge cost at all, really. If I have one area that I'm not comfortable with in my knowledge, it is the ag industry. And I took steps during the campaign to connect with some people, and I told them at the time that if I'm elected, I wanted to form an ag advisory group of producers in the area to sit down with me a couple of times a year and get their feedback on some things that they see that they would like improved in the whole industry. And we had our first meeting last night, and very successful. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know in the current farming operations, and some good ideas come out of it.
Well, you came from a farming family as a boy, right? And you had that background.
Yeah,
so.
in Saskatchewan, my parents farmed, and it was a small farm, and there wasn't the opportunity for me to succeed Dad when he needed to retire, and so that's and I look back on that now on maybe it was a missed opportunity, and if there had been some mechanisms in place to enable us to do that, who knows where I would be today. But yeah, we got some good ideas last night that we maybe work on and take forward and see if they'll flesh out into anything. I think that there could be a mechanism for the government to backstop loans, if you will, on if the son or the daughter even wants to take the property over and the land over and continue on the family farm, the asset is there. So why wouldn't we do some kind of a mechanism such as guarantee the loans, so the parents could take the money out and allow the children to move into that area. And the risk is very, very minimal because, as I said, the asset is there. The land is a huge asset. So there's opportunities like that I think we could work on and facilitate for them. There's some other things that were brought to mind too. The hail insurance was a big thing with some of the fellas last night. In that when the children take over a farm, there's a history of the property, and over the years, if their claims are within reason, that the rates go down and the fees go down and so on. But when the son takes it over, it's a whole new ball game. Same piece of property, but it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, why should that change?
The coverages go down. There's no reason for it to change. I mean, they don't govern the weather. So, no. I mean, it just seems ludicrous to me. So we would look at things like that and evening that playing field out. So, yeah, those are just a few of the ideas that I've come up with so far.
Well, that sounds great. So you're connecting with the community, and hopefully your colleagues are doing the same. And you know, it looks like you've got some very clear policies on what you're going to do in agriculture.
Yeah, we won't. I think the farm fuel subsidy that they cut out is going to have a huge impact. In the overall scheme of things, is it a large percentage? No, but $10,000 or $20,000 a year in extra fuel costs is $10,000 or $20,000 they don't have to do other things with.
And a lot of producers that I've talked to in the last couple of weeks about that fuel farm distribution rebate that was taken away, they're very upset about it. Essentially because it happened on the day of the budget. It just went cold turkey on that day, and it was gone. And many of them felt that they weren't consulted about it, they weren't even told about it, and they were forgotten. They were left in the dust a little bit. So yeah, that's an unfortunate thing, and hopefully we can have somebody on from the Alberta government talking a little bit more about that.
I would like to see that.